We are glad Natalie Compton has stopped being selfish. So when we got married and had a honeymoon, we couldn't talk to her during that period of time.
A long time it's been.
Oh, it hasn't been that long. I guess you deserved it. I like how he said, I guess you deserved it. I hope it was great.
Yes.
Was it great?
It was great. It was over in 2 seconds. I will also say, hot take, wasn't our best vacation we've ever had in our lives.
Uh-oh.
Oh, what happened? It was his fault, I'm sure.
I picked an Airbnb that was an incredible deal, and that was for a reason. It was above an open-air meat market and fish market, which meant that this quintessential Parisian balcony that I'd seen on Airbnb and was like, wow, look at this thing.
Oh.
It attracted so many flies from the chopped-off pork trotters below.
Wow.
Wow.
So that was kind of a shock. It was also up 6 flights of stairs. So every day was a little workout, but we still had a wonderful time. But do read those reviews on Airbnb to see, are there fish heads on the sidewalk when I walk outside?
Here's the thing.
Wow.
For you,
'Cause you're
I
stuck
think
in it
that
for
this is
7
actually
days.
important. This is important for Natalie to admit that she needed to do more research is a big deal. In other words, if Natalie didn't know, you're not going to know, so you got to do more.
I will say that I was dazzled by the photos, and the apartment itself was great. And people did comment, oh, this is a working neighborhood. There's a lot of stuff going on. But nobody said meat market downstairs. So it's up to me to leave that review and tell people this does matter when you have a balcony directly above it.
Wow. Well.
Yeah, and she writes about it in her latest article. Watch out for the meat market.
Yeah, I've already canceled.
I have to ask this, Natalie, though, because of the Airbnb, if you don't book it properly or you're not doing the research, you don't have all the info, would you recommend Airbnb over a hotel or a hotel over an Airbnb? Or it just depends on where you're going?
It really depends. This was not a whole week, but 6 days or 5 days. And so when you're staying somewhere for that length of time, I really do prefer an Airbnb because it is a little apartment or it is somebody's house. And that feels more comfortable than, a week at a hotel. Your stuff is all over the place. You can't really settle in the same way. And this was a delight to have a real fridge to go buy groceries, for us to prepare coffee in the morning. It just felt a little more homey, like we were fake French people. And of course, a delicious market right downstairs. But I do think that for a lot of people, there is a growing frustration with Airbnb that's bubbling over. People get these really long checkout lists from their Airbnb hosts that are like, strip the beds, take out the recycling, do my taxes, and people are getting annoyed. So there is a case for hotels these days, especially if you're looking at service fees or Airbnb fees that make it almost the same price as getting a hotel. But it really depends on your personal preference. And in some cities, Airbnb makes way more sense than what the hotels do.
The obvious question is, what did your husband say when you were disappointed in the infestation of flies?
He is the world's biggest chiller and did not care. Had no qualms that the air smelled of hot meat not in a cooked way, and couldn't have minded less. He said the vacation was 10 out of 10, no notes, even though he did get sick potentially off of some oysters and spent some time vomiting. So even with all of that being said, he thought it was a perfect trip. And that's
Perfect.
why he's a very much glass half full kind of guy.
All right, so let me ask you this question, because this is one of the basic gender differences in life. Were you pleased that he was so chill about it, or did it annoy you that he wasn't upset like you were?
I think it was very good that he did not care, because I got to be the pouty baby and he got to pull me out of it and say, have you noticed we're eating an eclair right now? You don't have to be worried about the fly situation.
That's great.
Like, let's just be happy inside this apartment with a beautiful bottle of wine. And I'm like, wow, you're right. So both of us had been upset about it. That wouldn't have helped anybody. And he just has a great sense of humor about everything. So even though we were at a seafood restaurant not 10 hours after he was violently ill, he's still a happy camper. He's still ordering fish and living to tell the tale. So couldn't have been a better match.
He's like a
Or a
Labrador
better husband, yeah.
He's like a Labrador Retriever.
Yeah,
All he
just-
wants to do is have fun.
With you.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. I think you guys, even though you didn't allow me to meet him to approve him prior to the wedding, I still think you guys are good for going the long haul here.
Right.
All right. So let's jump to a couple things you've written about recently. 9 rules for boarding a flight like a civilized person. When I was in where was I? I was in Savannah a week ago, and coming back from Savannah, the list of people who get to get. Now I was flying first. I was lucky enough to be flying first, but the list of people that got to get on before me was an hour and a half long.
Yes. Yeah. If you ever think that you are first, the airline has come up with a new boarding group that is before you. And that's just the way things are these days. So it is a reality that there's something about our human nature that freaks out when we are boarding a plane. It seems like 3/4 of people believe that the plane is going to leave without them, and they must be way ahead of schedule.
Well, that's the great irony, right? Everybody's screaming to get on the plane, and then they can't wait to get off the plane.
Just worried about their luggage. Where am I going to put my luggage? I got to get on.
All of the airlines, they have made this to where, okay, they're raising the bag fees, so now you don't want to check a bag. It was already a hassle to check a bag. Now they're like, actually, we don't even have room for you on the plane. So you're freaking out. You're like, where is my bag going to go? This is a disaster. So I do blame the airlines for part of this, at least. But that phenomenon of gate lice has been around before. The airlines have been shrinking that availability for overhead bin space. That being said, there are plenty of behaviors that are super annoying for passengers that have nothing to do with that panic mode. Like when people go up to a gate agent or go up to a flight attendant, they have their big noise-canceling headphones on. They are not giving the flight attendant the time of day. Don't be a jerk. That's just jerk behavior. Take your headphones off. Say hi. Say hello to the human being who is responsible for your safety on this flight. Also, get your bags together before you are getting on the plane. Don't be juggling open compartments. Your cords are falling out of the bag. You're juggling everything as you bonk people in the head on your way down the aisle. Just get your stuff together. Be one step ahead of the game. Get what you need in your pockets. That's going to make boarding a lot nicer.
Right. And if you're in the aisle seat, know that there are people going to be coming over to sit in the seats next to you. So be ready to get up and let them on. Natalie, my husband works for an airline, and I asked him about this. I said, well, what are your thoughts about boarding? Because he's in there when they're boarding. He said, we're only as fast as our slowest person boarding.
That's true.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true.
That's true. Also, if you are not boarding, you are in the way. So
Yes.
get out of the way until it's actually time for you to board. There is a right answer to when you're allowed to board, and it's not earlier than that. So get out of the way, be polite. Like you said, you want to get off the plane as fast as possible anyway. What's the rush?
Right. Well, I think you make a number of great points in this piece, which you can read at WashingtonPost.com. Just search Natalie Compton. All her stuff's right there. Keep your phone calls quick and quiet. Treat that area like a hotel lobby. Relax, but don't get too relaxed. Don't be laying around going, oh, is it my turn?
Spread out a picnic.
As you said, have your stuff together. It's all there. Your 9 rules for boarding like a civilized person. I know you got to run and do a TV thing, but give me a couple of your travel red flags for an Airbnb other than flies.
Well, another example of Dan the Saint, my husband, I booked an Airbnb last summer in a beach destination, and I, once again, was dazzled by the photos. There were a lot of close-up photos. This is a red flag. If you are seeing little details of the apartment, but you're not getting a full scope of what the whole apartment looks like, you are going to run into some disappointment. So what I discovered was they had taken photos of what they had updated, but the apartment as a whole was pretty run down. But the worst part of it was the toilet was in the room. The toilet was in the studio room, which meant there was no
privacy.
Yes, there was a door. It was a glass door, but the glass panels didn't go even up to the ceiling.
Oh.
And these.
So you would watch someone? Oh, that's awful.
It's kind of like frosted glass.
There was some frosted glass, but you could fully see the shins and feet of the person on the toilet while you were in bed, and it was just too intimate, even with your best friend. And so make sure when you are looking at the photos, can you tell, is the toilet in its own room? Are these photos painting a rosier picture of what the upgrades of this apartment are? And then, of course, with my honeymoon, read those reviews and see if you can glean anything like, is there a, busy bar downstairs? Is there a busy meat market downstairs? These are some of the things I've run into. My number one thing, though, that has gotten me not once but twice over the span of 10 years of Airbnbs, it's happened twice that I did not know the room didn't have a window. Once it was even a deceptive photo of a window in a room that they didn't actually give me. But if you don't see a window in any of the pictures, there is no window. That's not an accident, and you really want.
Those are great tips.
You need a window.
Those are great tips.
And if you want AC, make sure it has AC.
Right.
You could end up in Paris with no AC.
Yeah. Well, that's why I didn't. That's why I didn't qualify for the Olympics.
Right.
I have to have AC. Natalie, thank you, and happy 5th anniversary at the Washington Post.
Thank you so much, and have a great day. Talk to you guys soon.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
That's
Natalie.
At NatBco, all over social media. I'm sure she was freaked
Always
out
good stuff.
because after all the flies are circulating outside your room, and it's your honeymoon, it's probably tough to get in the mood.
Probably so. And then the other thing is, if you do have a window and there's flies, you don't want the flies to come in, you got to close the window.
But again, if Natalie Compton can make a mistake like that, then
That's
you
right.
can too.
You make bigger mistakes.
All right, 7:17. Oh, you know what? Next time, you got to remind. Next time we talk to her, I got to ask her about the woman that crawled out from the storage compartment at the bar in the Savannah airport, who is napping underneath the bar.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, got to ask her.
Maybe she knows her.
She might.